All parents must hear this story. Imagine feeling a small, cold knot in your stomach, a warning you can't quite put into words. Your heart wants to trust, but your instincts scream danger. This is the story of a girl whose ordinary life shifted in a heartbeat, and what she endured will stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Her name was Lily. At 12, she had a mind as sharp as her curiosity, and a laugh that could make even the grumpiest neighbor smile. She adored reading, sketching little scenes in the margins of her notebooks, and exploring the woods behind her house. Her parents loved her deeply, but their jobs left them absent more often than present. Her father, a pilot, was away on flights that spanned continents. Her mother, a hospital administrator, often returned home long after Lily had gone to bed. Evenings were spent alone, the house quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the floorboards. "Mom," she said one Friday evening while unpacking groceries, "I wish someone would just sit with me, talk with me, not about school or chores, just me." Her mother paused, brushing a lock of hair from Lily's forehead. "I know, sweetheart. We're doing our best. I promise we'll find a way to make it better." The promise brought hope, fragile but real. The following week, her mother returned with news that seemed perfect. A family friend, Mr. Kellen, had moved closer and offered to spend afternoons with Lily until her parents came home. Lily remembered him from community events, a tall, friendly man with stories of distant places, cameras always in hand, and a laugh that made children feel special. When he arrived the first Monday, he carried a small backpack stuffed with board games, notebooks, and a camera. "I brought some things for us to enjoy," he said, his smile warm and inviting. Lily's loneliness lifted for the first time in months. The days that followed felt like a gentle sun after a storm. Mr. Kellen helped her with homework, shared silly anecdotes about travels, and taught her how to capture the small wonders around her with a camera lens. "You see the world differently, Lily." "That's a gift," he would say, handing her a picture of her tiny hand, tracing a fern. She felt noticed, seen in a way she hadn't for so long. But comfort can hide danger in plain sight. Small moments began to feel off. A hand lingering too long on her shoulder, questions about secrets she kept from friends, or about things she didn't understand. "Do your friends ever tell you secrets?" he asked one afternoon. The tone was casual, playful, but his eyes held a weight she couldn't read. "Not really. Just normal stuff," she replied, a hint of unease curling in her chest. "Well, if you ever have a secret, you can tell me." "No one else needs to know," he said, smiling. The words hung in the air, colder than the breeze drifting through the open window. Then came the games that weren't just games. Creative exercises, photography poses, and trust challenges began to feel uncomfortable. Compliments became oddly personal. One afternoon, he handed her a small box labeled "Private Memories" and asked her not to show it to anyone, not even her parents. Inside were strange objects, photographs of places she didn't recognize, and a letter from another girl saying she didn't want to be part of his project anymore. Lily froze. Her gut twisted. This wasn't innocent. Her safe space had become confusing, frightening, and suffocating. She barely slept that night, the warning in her chest growing louder, tangled with fear and guilt. What if I'm wrong? What if no one believes me? The next day, the knock came at her door. It was her teacher, Mrs. Harding, dropping off a forgotten homework assignment. Lily's fingers gripped the edge of the table as she opened the door. Her teacher's eyes caught something in her expression, the tremor of fear she tried to hide behind a polite smile. "Everything okay?" Mrs. Harding asked gently. Lily's voice quavered. I think something's wrong with Mr. Kellen. He's been showing me things I don't understand." And he said not to tell anyone. Mrs. Harding's face remained calm, but her heart tightened. You did the right thing by telling me, Lily. You are brave, and your safety is the most important thing. Within the hour, Lily's mother came home. Panic and guilt etched across her face. She hugged Lily tightly. Authorities were contacted. The investigation revealed that Mr. Kellen had manipulated trust before, and other children had come forward about similar experiences. Lily's courage became a turning point, not just for herself, but for others. The days that followed were overwhelming. Police visits, questions, waves of emotions. But slowly, the sense of safety returned. Lily's parents took time off, spent evenings reading and talking together, braided her hair and cooked meals. Family counseling sessions helped Lily's voice grow stronger. At school, teachers checked in regularly. Friends who had once kept distance now sat with her, conversations and laughter returning. Lily had spoken up when it mattered most, and people saw her not as a victim, but as a young leader who refused to be silenced. Weeks passed. The nightmares faded, her confidence returned, and the tremble in her voice softened. One morning, she handed a note to Mrs. Harding. "Thank you for believing me." Her teacher knelt and hugged her. "You're safe, and you're never alone." You did the brave part. Lily walked a little taller that day. Her fear had become fuel. Her story, once filled with pain, had become a beacon for others. She learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's speaking your truth even when your voice shakes. Every child has instincts, a gut feeling that whispers when something's wrong. Too often, we dismiss it. But Lily's story teaches that listening to that voice and finding someone to trust can change everything. Days passed, but Lily couldn't shake the unease that had settled deep in her chest. She noticed small details she had ignored before. The way Mr. Kellen's smile sometimes didn't reach his eyes, the way he lingered in the doorway even after saying goodbye. Even the game started to feel heavier, carrying questions and rules that didn't make sense. One evening, he asked her to help him sort through a collection of photographs. "These are memories from children I've worked with before," he said. Lily frowned. Something about that statement made her stomach twist. Memories? From other children? Why hadn't anyone mentioned them before? He noticed her hesitation. "You're smart, Lily. I trust you to understand the important parts," he said, leaning closer. For a moment, his closeness was reassuring, but then the shadow behind his eyes made her step back. That night, Lily lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Her heart pounded. She thought of her mother's promise, the instinctive warning in her gut, the chill that had refused to leave her even during the most playful moments. This isn't right. I can't explain why, but it isn't right. The next day at school, Mrs. Harding seemed to sense something. She smiled at Lily, but there was a softness in her eyes that carried concern. Lily tried to push it away, but the weight in her chest grew heavier. During lunch, she noticed classmates whispering. One friend, Sarah, leaned over. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly. Lily nodded, but the small voice inside her said, "I need help. I can't face this alone." After class, she walked to the library, hands shaking, and sat with a journal she had started months ago. She wrote furiously, trying to put words to the fear that had been building. The confusing games, the strange photographs, the uncomfortable compliments, the box labeled private memories. Each word she wrote felt like a small weight lifting from her shoulders. By the time the final bell rang, she had a plan. She would speak to someone she trusted, someone who would listen without judgment. She thought of Mrs. Harding and took a deep breath. When she arrived home, the house was quiet as always. Mr. Kellen greeted her with a smile and held out a small box. "I saved something special for you," he said. Lily's hands trembled as she accepted it, but her mind raced. "Number. Not this time. I can't keep quiet." As he turned to make a snack in the kitchen, she ran to the door and opened it. Mrs. Harding stood there, holding a stack of homework assignments she had promised to drop off earlier. Lily's lips quivered. Can I tell you something?" she asked. "Of course," Mrs. Harding said softly, stepping inside. Lily's words tumbled out in a rush. She described the uncomfortable moments, the secret box, the photographs, and the way Mr. Kellen had made her feel. Mrs. Harding listened quietly, nodding. When Lily finished, tears streaming down her face, she felt a strange relief she had never known. "Someone believes me." Within the hour, her parents arrived. Her mother wrapped her in a trembling hug, apologizing through tears. Her father's hands shook as he held her close, murmuring, "You did the right thing." "We're here now." Authorities were contacted immediately. The investigation revealed that Mr. Kellen had a history of inappropriate conduct with children, and the letter inside the box had been a warning from another girl who had walked away before. Lily's courage became the turning point that ensured justice was served. In the days that followed, the house felt alive again. Her parents stayed home, spent hours talking, reading, and laughing with her. Family counseling sessions helped Lily unpack the confusion and fear that had grown inside her. She began to speak freely, telling stories of her day, sharing thoughts she had kept locked away, and even laughing at the small absurdities that life offered. School changed too. Teachers checked in regularly. Classmates sat beside her at lunch, and the atmosphere shifted from pity to respect. Lily no longer felt like the girl who had been hurt. She was the girl who had acted, who had spoken when it mattered most. Slowly, Lily regained a sense of normalcy. The nightmares that had once haunted her sleep faded. Her confidence returned, and the tremble in her voice softened. Each day felt like a small victory. She learned to trust her instincts and realized that courage doesn't mean you aren't afraid. It means you act despite the fear. One morning, she approached Mrs. Harding with a small, crumpled note in her hand. "Thank you for believing me," she said quietly. Her teacher smiled, kneeling to her level. "You did the brave part, Lily. You spoke your truth, and that's something even adults struggle to do. You're safe now, and you're never alone." From that day forward, Lily walked a little taller. Her silence had become a voice. Her fear had become fuel. Her story, once a source of pain, became a beacon for others. She realized that one child's courage could protect many, that speaking up could save not just yourself, but others too. Even now, whenever she passed by a locked door or a quiet hallway, she felt a small sense of power. The power that comes from listening to your instincts, from trusting your gut, and from finding someone willing to hear your truth. Weeks turned into months, and Lily slowly began to reclaim her life. The nights that had once been filled with shadows and whispered fears now carried quiet comfort. She woke up without dread, her eyes finding the sunlight spilling across her bedroom floor. She laughed more freely, her voice no longer trembling, and she noticed the little joys she had missed. The smell of fresh toast, the rustle of leaves in the backyard, the warmth of a hug without any lingering fear. Her parents devoted themselves to her, more present than ever. Breakfast became a ritual. Evenings were filled with stories and shared sketches, and the silence that had once consumed the house melted away into laughter. They cried together, celebrated small victories, and faced the aftermath of betrayal, not as victims but as a family choosing to heal. Counseling sessions became a space where Lily could express herself without fear or judgment. She spoke of her love for stories, her confusion, and the anxiety that had tightened around her heart. Slowly, the tight coil of fear unraveled, leaving room for courage, hope, and clarity. She discovered that bravery wasn't the absence of fear. It was the choice to act despite it. At school, Lily's presence shifted the dynamics. Friends who had once distanced themselves now sought her company. Teachers paid closer attention, ensuring she felt safe and valued. Every small interaction reinforced that she was not defined by what had happened, but by how she responded. She was becoming a leader in her own quiet, steady way, inspiring others without even realizing it. One afternoon, Lily approached the library window and watched children playing outside. A soft smile formed as she realized how far she had come. She had walked through fear, uncertainty, and betrayal, and emerged stronger. She clutched her journal to her chest, the pages filled with stories, sketches, and reflections that captured her journey. "I want to be a writer," she whispered to herself, "someone who helps others feel seen, who gives words to those too scared to speak." Her dream was no longer distant. It was alive, fueled by the courage she had discovered within herself. Her voice became a beacon. She shared her experience carefully with close friends and supportive teachers, reminding them of the power of speaking up. Every conversation reinforced a truth she had learned the hard way. Silence protects no one, but courage, even fragile and trembling, can save lives. As the seasons changed, Lily walked through the hallways with a new confidence. She didn't just survive, she thrived. Fear had once silenced her, but now it fueled her purpose. Every child, every person carries instincts, whispers in the gut that something is wrong. Lily's story was a reminder that those instincts are to be trusted, that speaking out can change the course of life, not only for yourself, but for others. One sunny morning, she handed a handwritten note to her mother. "Thank you for listening, for believing, for being here." Her mother hugged her tightly, tears in her eyes. "I promise you'll never face anything like that alone again." Ever Lily's courage had restored more than her safety. It had rebuilt her family, strengthened her friendships, and given her the clarity to pursue her dreams. She had transformed from a frightened girl into a young leader, someone who knew her worth, her power, and the importance of her own voice. In every quiet hallway, every sunlit corner, and every conversation, she carried the lesson she had learned. That bravery is not about never being afraid, but about acting with integrity and truth when fear is present. And sometimes the voice of one child can protect many, ignite hope, and change the world in ways unseen. Her story is not just about fear or danger, it is about resilience, the restoration of trust, and the strength that comes from speaking your truth. Lily's journey became a beacon for those who had felt powerless, a reminder that no matter the darkness, the courage to speak can illuminate the path to safety, healing, and hope. As she closed her journal one evening, Lily felt a quiet pride. She was no longer just the girl who had been hurt. She was the girl who had stood tall, who had refused to be silenced, who had transformed fear into purpose. And in that quiet moment, she knew that her story, once filled with pain, had become a force for light in the world.